ready when I was asking to. All right, it's recording. Here we go. Question 8. Shh. Watching. Year 8s. Thank you. I do want you to copy this down because it's the two main skills. I'm only teaching 2 skills. This is the 3rd example. It's not like I'm doing 10. I'm only doing 3. So, here's the example for division. A lot of students confuse multiplication and division, and I'll show you why and how to avoid it. Ready? Here we go. So I'm going to pick 1. Let's do B. 8b, you have 0.152 divided by 0.4. Here is the method. The method is pretty straightforward. I want you to write it as a fraction to understand why this method works and why it's different to multiplication. See 0.152, Maddie. Thank you. I'm still speaking. You can speak right after I finish, which is very respectful. We do so. 0.152 divided by 0.4, I want you to write it as a fraction to understand why this method works. So 0.152, divide is actually the same thing as writing over 0.4. The problem here is that 0.4, we don't know how to do the division. And I know someone's watching my video, but can you please either put on earphones or not watch it while I'm explaining? Thank you.
I'm not. Turn it off.
I know you're trying to learn, just as I'm trying to explain. 0.152. We don't know how to divide it when it's a decimal. See that's 0.4. We don't know how to do that. The 0.4 is tricky. If it's a whole number, we know how to do it. And that's exactly right what Luca just said. You can either change it. This is where it's different to multiplication. See 0.4, what would I have to times to 0.4 to make it a whole number? 10. But remember back in chapter 3 or exercise 3A, equivalent fractions, you can times the bottom by 10, but you also have to make sure times the top by 10. This is where it's different to multiplication. The next one is then if you times it by 10, you get now 4 in the denominator, which is good. We know how to do it when it's a whole number. Don't forget to do the top by 10 as well. And that means you now get 1.52 in the numerator. You see, these two, and this is where I'm going to try to explain to make sure you understand here. You know how in multiplication, when we said you need to change the numbers and then at the end you need to change it back? You don't have to do it for division. Why? Because this line is equivalent to this line. These two fractions are actually the same. It's like saying 2/4 and a half. They're both the same. That's why you don't have to change anything at your final answer. Your final answer in division is the final answer. Whereas multiplication, look at the two differences. Have a look at multiplication. We started off with this question. But that question is different to what I did here. This is a different number. They're not the same. But over here, they are the same. These two is exactly the same as those two fractions there. That's why you don't have to do anything more once you get your answer. Don't confuse those two. I see it all the time in the test, and I promise you I'm going to catch someone in this class as well, because that's just how class works, right? I explain it, I give you the theory, but I will always have an evidence that I've described it, okay? So here we go. Let's work out how many 4s fit into 1.52. So that's what we're saying. When you say 1.52 divide 4, you're asking how many of these 4s fit into 1.52. Good. We start off with the first digit. 4 doesn't go into 1, so we say 0. Then we take the next digit. So now it's 15. Instead of 1 unit, we now have 15 tenths. How many 4s? 3 times. Very good. Don't forget the decimal point. So we just put in the decimal point there.